Well, hello, my friends. It is time for another story time. So I thought today that I would talk to you about what it's like to be a 60-day, not a 90-day, a 60-day fiancé. That's me. I thought it'd just be a little bit of fun, especially since this is the 25th year of our marriage. We were married 25 years in June. So spoiler alert, it worked out. But I kind of glossed over the whole courtship stuff. And instead of me just talking at you, just like the previous two story times that I did, I will be doing my makeup as I go. And if you're interested in the makeup part, everything is listed and linked, all the products, down in the description box where it says show more. We have just spent the weekend in Houston with our oldest son. He lives in Houston, and we actually booked a stay at an area resort called the Woodlands. It was very chill, very relaxing. Last night, I got no sleep. So this is a very tired face. I'm filming this on a Sunday afternoon, and I do have to still unpack and do things and go out and run some errands, so I need to put on some makeup. You're gonna see hopefully a transformation from very tired looking to at least hopefully put together. Let's travel back in time again. This time we are going back to May 1994. So in May 1994, I graduated from undergraduate. I went to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. I graduated with a degree in sociology. I knew I was going to be in school for another few years in a graduate program, so I wanted to get a job for the summer that would let me be outside. And I had previously had the same position at another camp. I decided to be a camp counselor. Now, for my Texas friends, this concept of a day camp is probably unusual to you. So I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, the northern suburbs. And up there, while we do have overnight camps, they also have a plethora of day camps. Many of them are basically set up like overnight camps with huge grounds and buildings and all the facilities that an overnight camp has. The difference being you get picked up in the morning by a school bus and you get brought home at the end of the day by a school bus. So the only difference is you don't sleep there and you don't have breakfast or dinner there, but they have lunch. And for those of you in the Chicago area, I ended up getting a job as a camp counselor and school bus driver for Kelly's day camp. I had skipped a grade. I didn't go to second grade. I went from first grade to third grade. So I didn't turn 21 until the end of March of my senior year. And when you're 21, you can drive the school bus to pick up the kids and take them home. And this is important because back then it was like an extra $1,000, which still is a lot of money, but back in the 90s was a ridiculous amount of money. So I've been hired by Kelly's Day Camp to be the pony girl. They had not horses, but ponies on the property. My job was to get to camp, obviously go right to my station, get the ponies fed, saddled for the day, bridled, ready to go. And then as the camp counselors would bring their groups, I would lead the kids around with the pony. I totally BS'd my way into that job, by the way, because I was raised around horses. My aunt bred and showed quarter horses and is it Morgans and also some Tennessee Walkers. That doesn't mean that I knew. I'm laughing because it's just ridiculous. I did not grow up riding them. I would just see them when I went to my aunt's house, but I totally BS'd my way through that interview and made it sound like I knew how to ride, which I really don't. Like I mentioned, they also hired me to drive the school bus to pick up the kids and take them home. You know, I had a route. So you need to get a commercial driver's license to drive the school bus. Kelly Day Camp had a day set aside or two where you could go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and take your CDL test. So I get to the DMV on our assigned day, and we're sitting in the waiting room, and everyone there is also with Kelly's Day Camp. I'm sitting there, and I see this gorgeous boy. Dark hair, olive skin, built. I'm totally staring. I'm not even being subtle. This was my idea of flirting back in the day. If I'm looking at you, I want you to look back at me and then hope that you make the move to me. It's very old school, but it's effective. I don't even know if we actually spoke to each other, but I noticed him and I noticed him noticing me back. Then we get to the training days of camp before the kids come, so we learn our positions. I figure out how to saddle a pony. Now I see him walk around without a shirt on. I mean, I still think he's delicious. But 23-year-old Michael, oh my God. I think I'm an old school flirter. To be fair, it's been like over 30 years since I flirted. So I want the boy to pursue me. So I make sure I'm where he can see me, but I am not necessarily instigating any conversation. I am making it obvious by the way I am looking over that I want him to look back, but I'm not gonna walk up to him and introduce myself. Somehow we end up sitting next to each other with our feet in the swimming pool. We start chit-chatting, and I wasn't serious with anyone then, but I knew at that age, now that I'm out of college, anyone I do start dating, that could potentially lead to a serious relationship and marriage. So I wanted to be a little choosier. It was important to me that I married someone who was Jewish. I am Jewish as well. It's not like he was wearing a sign or a Jewish star or anything to let me know, hey, I'm Jewish. We exchanged first names. I don't know his last name, and I thought he was probably Italian. I don't know why. And I thought, oh gosh, I like, as cute as he is, I just can't. I really need to pursue a relationship with someone who I would see myself really marrying. So he mentions that he was a camp counselor before somewhere else. I mentioned that I was a camp counselor before someone else. He says, oh, isn't that near such and such synagogue? Now there's a large Jewish population where we're both originally from. We grew up in like not quite adjacent towns, but very close to each other, like 10 minutes apart. And so everyone's pretty familiar with the Jewish community up there, even if you're not a member of it. So at first I was like, well, I mean, everyone knows where that synagogue is. And I said, yeah, it's right next door to that synagogue. And he looks at me and he goes, is that your synagogue? And I was like, no. And I could see his face fall. And I said, we belong to blah, blah, blah synagogue. And he goes, oh, my family belongs to such and such synagogue. I'm like, yes. And later on he said that he was thinking my mom is going to be so happy. To this day, I can't remember how I got his phone number. I actually did make the first move. For the first time in my life, I was the one that made the first move. And it actually worked out, didn't it? So I had missed a day or two of work because I was had a stomach bug or something. I wanted to know what I had missed for like training or whatever. I can't even remember what baloney excuse. Somehow I got his phone number, and I didn't ask him for it. I don't know if we had a camp directory. The details are hazy, but somehow I got his phone number. And I called him under the pretense of, hey, I just wanted to know what I missed for those few days, whatever. And somehow that conversation led to him asking me if he could meet me for ice cream, I think it was. Isn't it sad how certain things you just cannot remember? I don't count this first get together as our first date because it was very kind of off the cuff. But then he asked me out on an official date. And the date for our first official, we're planning this, it's a whole thing, was June 21st, 1994. And I'll explain why that's an important thing. And I'm sharing all this, I should say, because I know there's a few of you who are wondering, how do I know this is the one? Or when did you know? And I can only give you my experience. And I'm going to tell you right now, when you know, you know. We decided to go see a concert at an outdoor concert area. It's called Ravinia. It's kind of in the middle of where both of us are from. You can bring a picnic and spread your blanket out and listen to whatever's playing. And they have everyone from rock bands to, we went to the opening night of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. We've seen Huey Lewis there. It's just completely random. We picked up Boston Market to go, but I baked. It was from a box, a no-bake Reese's peanut butter cup dessert, because somehow I knew that he liked peanut butter and chocolate. Note, I hate both of those things. I did not eat the dessert, and not because I didn't want to eat on our date. I just wanted to impress him. My parents were not home. I was living at home that summer and through grad school. I lived at home until the day I got married, and then I moved in to our apartment that we had picked out. So he picked me up, and my parents and my little brother, were not home. And he walked into the kitchen and he said, I don't know exactly what he said, but it was something effective. Let's just get this part out of the way so we're not nervous about it the rest of the night. And that's when he kissed me for the first time. So cute. I don't recommend maybe starting every date like this, but if you're getting like a good vibe, he was absolutely right. It absolutely broke the ice. It was just, that part was over. We didn't have to worry about it. We didn't have to like have that tension the whole night. And once that happened, we were so relaxed. We'd always been, not always, the one time we had hung out, it was still very relaxed. But you know how when you're first getting to know someone and there's sort of like this, almost like this little dance, like I'll offer you something, now you tell me something about yourself, and you're kind of like feeling each other out and learning a little bit and kind of tiptoeing. There was no more tiptoeing. We just felt completely at ease. I just felt like I had known him my entire life. I felt like this was our 30th date, not our first date. At one point, this part sticks in my head. We were walking around, we were holding hands, first date. And we came across what I looked at as an older couple, and now I'm thinking were they even in their 40s? And they looked at us and they said, "Oh, it's so sweet to see two young people in love." And we were like, "This is our first date." And they're like, "Sure it is." But on that day, we talked about all the things that I guess you need to know before you marry someone. Like, do you want to have kids? How many kids would you like to have? Do you want to be a stay-at-home mom, in my case? I said yes, and he said was hoping that his future wife would want to stay at home. We were both raised with stay-at-home moms. It's what we knew. It's what we were both comfortable with. I mean, so can you imagine you're having this discussion? I'm 21, newly graduated from college. He's 23. He just finished his first year of law school, and this is the conversation that we're having. The next morning, I made 2 phone calls. I called my aunt, who I was very close to. We're like only 14 years apart, so she's more like a big sister. And I said, "I've met the man I'm going to marry. I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm off the market. This is the guy." And then I called the guy that I was kind of casually dating, and I said, "I've met someone really special and really important. I don't want to mess this up. I can't see you anymore." And I knew. I just knew. I didn't know when. I mean, I imagined it would be years from then, because I was about to start grad school in the fall. He still had 2 more years of law school. I just assumed like years later we would be, married. And now fast forward to August, and he's got to go back to law school. I was going to grad school in the Chicago area, so I could just live at home, but he went to law school in St. Louis. So I went with him. I drove with him back to his apartment in St. Louis, helped him get moved into his second-year apartment. He had planned a special dinner for us on our last night there together. I was flying home the next morning. Now remember, this is a big deal. I mean, we're both students. We don't have a lot of money. And anyway, we went to Charlie Gito's. It's an amazing Italian restaurant on the hill in St. Louis. We placed our order. The waiter leaves. I knew something was up. Like, subtlety is not his strong suit. But remember, this is our first like real big date was like June 21st. This is August 17th. It is not even a full 60 days. The waiter leaves, takes the menus, and Michael takes a jewelry box, a small square jewelry box, and plops it on my plate. I don't even remember how he asked me. He did not get down on one knee. I did not care. He did not ask my parents' permission. They did not care. And he just said, basically, "Will you marry me?" And I said yes. He did not want me going back home without a ring on my finger. Did we have any idea when we were going to get married, how that was going to work? No. But apparently all the things that I was thinking and feeling, he was feeling the same way. Now here, as a parent, many years later, of a same age kid and older, I would kill my kids if either of them pulled this crap with me. I would be like, say, no, we're not doing that. So that was, I think he came home Labor Day weekend, and the parents got together and we all had dinner together. And I do remember this conversation. They basically said, if you want to get married, that's great. If you want to wait until you're both done with grad school and you both have jobs, we will be happy to continue to pay for your grad school, your living expenses, and the wedding. If you want to get married before that, y'all are on your own. You're not playing house with our money, which makes perfect sense to me. If you're grown up enough to be married, then you are grown up enough to be taking care of yourself. You should not be getting married while mommy and daddy are subsidizing your life. And we're like, grad school's expensive. We can wait. So while I had a very, very, very short dating period, not quite 60 days, we had a very, very long engagement. And then we got married June 21st, 1997. 3 years to the date of our first real date. And now, 25 years from there, here we are. We have a 24-year-old son. We have a 21-year-old son who was also born on June 21st. So our anniversary was forever now his birthday. And here we are. When people ask me, how do you know? If you have to ask, then you don't know. And I also think if you've been someone for years, or at least a year, if you've gone through 4 full seasons with someone, and you still don't know if you could see yourself with that person, I don't think that's the person for you. So I do not suggest that you run out and marry someone that you only know for 2 months. We did actually end up knowing each other for 3 years by the time we got married. And I guess at any point we could have ended the relationship before we walked down the aisle. When you meet the person I think you should be with for the rest of your life, if you're constantly questioning if that's the right person, then you already know the answer. And if you would like to know more about us and our life together, I will link a couple of videos down in the description box, especially what to look for in a spouse. Those were all things that were going through my then 21-year-old brain, not realizing that all those things would apply to the person that I ended up marrying just a short time after that. I hope you enjoyed this very personal story time. Remember to check the description box for all the products that I used for this look. I hope I look a little more awake than I did when we started. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.